Hello, lovely people. Thomas in New York. Hope all is well. By the time this video will have been posted, it has been 27 years since the anniversary of the death of John F. Kennedy Jr. and his wife. 27 years. Now, I remember John F. Kennedy. I think everyone remembers John F. Kennedy Jr. as young as a little boy, about 3 years old, saluting his father's casket in 1963. But I do want to talk to you about John F. Kennedy and his wife's life here in New York City, show you their former home. It was their last home in Tribeca, SoHo area, 20 Moore Street. And I want to do that for you guys right now. So let's chat. Thomas in New York. There you see a picture of John F. Kennedy Jr. JFK Jr. was born into the spotlight as the son of President John F. Kennedy and First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy. Now, after graduating from New York University School of Law, John, believe it or not, he served as an assistant district attorney in Manhattan. And if you would have told me that he would not be a mayor or a governor in New York, I'd probably tell you you're lying. But he kind of swayed, and I don't know, might have returned to politics eventually, but he swayed where he left and kind of went after his true passion, which was publishing. He co-founded George, which was a glossy lifestyle political magazine aimed at making politics accessible and entertaining. As the editor-in-chief, John used his celebrity status to kind of attract high-profile interviews and establish the publication as a unique voice. Kind of as a unique voice in American media. And there you see in the insert there at the bottom, John Kennedy Jr. and his wife. So George magazine, he had that the tagline, 95 visionary tagline, not just politics as usual. Now the publication fundamentally shifted media culture by treating politics as a lifestyle. It characterized politics, meaning it stripped away dry bureaucracy, making Washington, D.C. engaging for everyday readers, believe it or not. Hollywood crossovers, the magazine routinely placed actors, models, and musicians on its covers, and they used that to discuss civic issues. It had iconic visionary imagery. The premiere issue featured Cindy Crawford styled as a edgy midriff bearing George Washington. I think that magazine, you might say, also left what is called a cultural blueprint. It anticipated the modern intersection of entertainment, celebrity culture, and political commentary. Now, Carolyn Bessette, she possessed a very formidable career of her own before the marriage. Armed with a degree in elementary education, she pivoted to fashion public relations. She rose quickly through the ranks at Calvin Klein in New York City, eventually becoming the director of show production. Known for her minimalist style and sharp professionalism, she became a muse for the fashion industry. When you look at life in New York for the couple, probably a chaotic mix of glamour and a lot of media pressure. And this was even before, really cell phones came into use, and Twitter and Facebook and social media, and even back then, it was crazy, right? And they resided in the Loft in Tribeca, which we're going to, and they tried to maintain a normal urban life. They would they would be walking their dog, frequenting local cafes, and as much as they tried, they were relentlessly pursued by the paparazzi. Constant surveillance. It put a strain on their private life, making simple daily routines a challenge, especially when you do not want to get filmed. Despite the stress, they remain fixtures of the New York social scene, balancing, charity galas with the demands of John's magazine, JFK's, magazine, George, as it was called. Just going back to the paparazzi, there's really no escape. You're living in a loft, right? And so it's, in a sense, the photographers would always just they were camped directly on their doorstep, in a sense. You will see as we approach. They had aggressive tactics. They yelled, provocative, just yelling things at, like, Carolyn or Johnf Kennedy, just to elicit a reaction or a visible distress for cameras. Anything just to stir the pot. Always a constant, in a sense, hunt for friction. The press aggressively documented their private arguments, putting like an immense pressure on the young man. They weren't married that long. I think they were married in '95. So just all this pressure on a young marriage, and just constant everywhere, always in the public eye. And I remember just constantly seeing them in the news, always, ET, Entertainment Tonight. It's almost like, and after, their tragic accident happened, which I will get to as well, there was always mention in the media just a kind of a tragic parallel. The daily battle with the press mirrors kind of the intense media hunting that ultimately, that was around Princess Diana. So those, these three celebrities kind of intertwined with each other, and parallels were drawn. That's how much they were followed around, and how much the paparazzi were fascinated with them. Carolyn Bessette, again, just a 90 fashion icon. It was said that her street style directly influences contemporary fashion movements. A basic look with her made it into almost a luxurious look. The term with her was used, quiet luxury, right? Neutral, logo-free, high-end wardrobe. She made popular, pairing white button-down mid-wash denim camo skirts and sleek black turtlenecks. So a fashion icon. And I remember the accident like it was yesterday. Very like, huh? Like, and it like blows my mind. Like he at this point when this happened in '99, 38 years old, John F. Kennedy, and I think his wife was a year or two younger. And that was 26 years ago. Right now they would be in their close to their mid 60s. My God, that's just like, whoa. It was July 16th, 1999. And who was involved was John F. Kennedy Jr., his wife, and his sister-in-law. July 16th, 1999, John was piloting a Piper Saratoga light aircraft en route to a family wedding in Martha's Vineyard. So it was Carolyn and her sister Lauren. They were on board as passengers, and the plane crashed into the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Massachusetts. There is the loft, there is the apartment, as you could see it, way up high. That was their loft, but it was due to, they were saying, pilot disorientation and low visibility conditions. All three perished. Ending the lives of three very young people. Again, John F. Kennedy Jr., maybe he didn't want to do it, but there was talk about him going into politics, being like his father, being even a president, who knew? But just, wow. Tragic accident 27 years ago today. Just like that, time flies by. Again, North Moore Street, located by the Ghostbusters firehouse, if you're looking for something that's a kind of another monument near the Holland Tunnel, or in that general vicinity. People walk by and they just never realize, never know. Rest in peace.